Hello, my name is Ansley Sellers, and this is my anatomy final project on deafness. This video I'm going to focus on cochlear implants, and we're going to interview some of my family members since my younger brother John has a cochlear implant. First we're going to interview my dad. He's going to explain exactly what a cochlear implant does. So explain to us, how does a cochlear implant work and what does it do?
Okay, what a cochlear implant is an external device that's like a hearing aid that fits behind the ear, and it takes sound and transmits it into digital electric current that goes across this magnet, and it goes to a wire that's hooked underneath the scalp, and the wire goes to the cochlea, and the digital sound stimulates the hair cells in the cochlea and allows a totally deaf person to be able to hear sound and music. And this is what it looks like. It's like a hearing aid, and there's a magnet that hooks onto the back of the head.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's it.
Okay, when did you first learn that John was deaf?
When we were in the hospital, the second day that he was born, they came and did a newborn screening at Keystone Hospital and found that he had a hearing loss. And then we knew at 6 weeks from Keystone Hospital that he was not hearing.
Okay. What were your feelings when you received this news?
I think we were shocked and worried about what that would look like for our family, what we were going to do with a completely deaf child and how he would fit in to our lives here.
Okay. What made you make the decision to have him get the cochlear implant surgery?
We got sent immediately to Eggleston Hospital, and we got hooked up with a really good audiologist and a ENT surgeon there, and they explained all the pros and cons, and it just seemed like it was a win-win situation that this would allow him to be able to learn how to hear as a small child, and then if he wanted to later on as an adult to embrace the sign language and the deaf culture, that he could do that, but that would give him the options for both sides.
Okay. What was the process like after the surgery?
They had to wait 3 weeks for the swelling to go down, because when they do the surgery, they open up a place in the back of his head, and he got about 40 stitches, so it was a pretty big surgery. So they had to wait about 3 weeks to let the swelling go down, and then the audiologist does what she says. She hooks him up, and she actually turns on the internal part of the device. And it took about a month before we really realized that he was hearing things, because he had never heard before, so his brain had to understand what that things made sound. And then after he started hearing, we continued our auditory verbal therapy once a week that taught him what sounds meant, and from there about speech and sentences and language. And we worked at home on that, and then went down to Atlanta once a week.
Okay, and do you still go down to Atlanta for?
No, John graduated from the auditory verbal when he was 5, when he was getting ready to go to kindergarten, and he received a little bit of speech help in school to clear up some slushy S's in, I think, 1st or 2nd grade, but he hasn't had any speech or any intervention at school since then, and he hasn't had to have any therapy since he was 5, so he's caught up to his normal age.
Okay. Have you had any issues with the cochlear implant in general and in the classroom?
No, sometimes it's hard for him to hear when there's a lot of noise going on around, but he hasn't had to have any help in the classroom. He functions really well, and a lot of times, until I tell the teachers, they don't even realize that he has a hearing aid or implant or anything, because he does so well. And most people even forget, and we forget a lot of times and talk to him when he doesn't have it on, and we forget that he's not wearing it. Occasionally it's gone out, and he's had to kind of use his lip reading skills for a little while till we're able to get a second one up and running. He did lose one in the water at the beach spring break, but we got a replacement pretty quickly, and we moved on. Sometimes they have problems with the internal device failing, but John hasn't had any problems with that, so we've been really fortunate.
Thankful for that. And tell me about the changes that have happened since he first got his cochlear implant.
Well, like your dad showed, the part that he's wearing now, when he first got implanted, most of that was held on a device that was about the size of a pager, and he wore it on a little harness on his back, or when they were older they could wear it on their belt, and then it had a wire that connected to the external part behind his ear, so it was annoying for him to have the wire, it was annoying to have the battery pack. He did gymnastics and he'd be flipping over and landing on the battery pack on his back, and it's just a lot easier now that he's got the smaller part. It's not visible, nobody really even knows it's there, and it's a lot more comfortable for him.
Okay. What do you see as the biggest benefit for him having had this surgery?
I think just for John, that he can have the same experiences that Matt and Ansley had and go to the same schools and, you know, be at church with all his friends and not need somebody to interpret for him, because we could learn sign language, but most of the people out in the community wouldn't learn sign language, so it really isolated him. And the other thing that was really made a big impact on me when we were studying about the cochlear implants, most deaf adults who have not had a cochlear implant and cannot hear, their average reading age is about, reading ability is about 3rd or 4th grade level. And John's, you know, surpassed that. He's in the high school reading level. So that was really important to me, that his education would suffer because of his hearing loss, and that certainly hasn't happened with the cochlear implant.
He's at the high school reading age level and he's only 13.
Right, he's 13. He's in 7th grade and does really well.
I know that I've heard some people in the deaf community not approving of cochlear implants. Have you had any negative feedback from them or any?
We haven't, and I think it's because we're in Atlanta, we're in a big city. I've talked to people that have been in situations in other cities and smaller towns where they just haven't had the access to the technology, and they've been a part of a deaf community that really did not embrace the cochlear implants. A lot of the deaf community felt like hearing parents particularly should not make a decision for a deaf child that he was not able to make for himself, and if we had waited until John was old enough to make that decision, it would have been too late for him to benefit from the implant. And I think that they felt like somehow we were saying that John wasn't good enough like he was, when we were in fact just wanting to give him, you know, all the options that he had to either be hearing or not hearing. But no, in Atlanta we're really fortunate that we've got I think just a really intelligent community that doesn't deal with those kind of issues.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing with us your
You're
first
welcome.
story. This is John himself, the amazing 13-year-old boy. Growing up so much. And I'm going to ask you some questions now. What is the best part about having the cochlear implant?
Probably being able to take them off when people are being annoying or when I don't feel like having them on.
It's a nice option to have. You choose it often. What has been the biggest challenge for you?
Probably the biggest challenge is when you're at the pool and you have to take them off because they're not waterproof and they won't work if you jump in with them.
But yet you still do swim team and exceed at it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you agree with your parents' choice to have the surgery?
Yes, I do agree with them. It was a wise choice.
You wouldn't have wanted to learn sign language? Okay. I know you got the second implant when you were 8 years old and the first when you were 18 months old. How has having the second surgery helped you?
It has improved a lot of sound around the world in classrooms and
You can just hear things better.
very much.
Takes out some of the background noise for you. It's very good. Are there times when you have to take your hearing aid off?
There's a lot of times I have to take them off when I'm sleeping because I don't waste the battery power, and when I have to go into the water at the beach or pool.
Do you feel different than other kids, or do you feel just the same as everybody else?
I feel the same.
Do the same activities? You're just as smart, just as awesome. Okay, well thank you, John.
You're welcome.
And thank you for watching my video.